Working out is important, isn't it? How we view our bodies is important. Well, we have someone else in our midst that's going to share a story with us today. This is Chuck Mattson. Many of you know him just as Chuck, but Chuck has just an amazing story first of all, he's a chief scientist for the Air Force Office of Scientific Research. So he is retired now, and in his spare time, he doesn't want to run a 5K. He wants to bike across country. Yes, bike across country. So Chuck did one of his bucket list, I guess, items on his bucket list. But Chuck, I want you to come on up. I want to introduce to you Chuck, who just is an amazing man of God, who really lives out his faith. He's always telling us how he is talking with someone about the Lord. But he just has an amazing drive. So my little 1K, and now Chuck is going to share his story, a little bit of how he biked across country. So we like to highlight people in our church and just see what God is doing in their lives. So Chuck, we welcome you, and I'm excited to hear you share this morning. And I'm going to wipe this off.
So can we have the first slide, please? Awesome. So when I look at this route, I think, how in the world did I actually do that? It was 4,000 miles. We averaged 60 miles a day. I climbed so many mountains and hills that it was the equivalent of climbing 4 Mount Everests. I ate so much food that it was the equivalent of 1,100 pieces of apple pie with whipped cream. Spent 330 hours on the bike, and I rotated the pedals 1.8 million times. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how that would work out for me. There's a lot of trepidation ahead of time, but it's like the Christian walk. You live it one day at a time. And so here's me in Delaware. There's a tradition with these kind of things where you dip your rear wheel in the ocean that you're leaving. And so here I am dipping it in the Atlantic Ocean with my wife. And I had a prayer team because I knew that would be important. And so this is my sisters-in-law and brother-in-law. They supported me in prayer, and that was something that was pretty important as it turned out. So I rode 3 days by myself from Delaware to Arlington. And then in Arlington, I joined up with a group of guys. Here they are. And we rode the rest of the way together. Now, I'm 61, and I'm the youngest guy on this ride. The oldest guy is 76, and he was battling cancer. So these are some really cool guys. And what was really nice is they all had servant hearts. I thought I might shine as a servant of God. I was kind of left behind at times. It was really something. One of the things we all agreed on is we did not want to carry our gear across the country. And so we joined a group that would carry the gear for us, and all we had to do was ride each day. Now, it was a big adventure, but it happened day by day. And so let me just give you what a typical day is. We would wake up in the morning, 5 a.m. typically, make our breakfast and eat it. We'd make a sack lunch to take with us, and of course we'd eat along the way as well because we were burning so many calories. We would all pitch in and load our stuff up into the van before we headed out. And then once we were all done with that, we'd head out together, typically in small groups. We rarely all rode together. In fact, I think the only time we did was the last half mile at the finish of the ride. So we'd break up into small groups depending upon our pace, depending upon what we wanted to do that day. Food was a constant thought for us, burning all these calories. And we took a route across rural America, so there were not a lot of places to eat. So we'd tend to congregate at these places to eat. And here we are. Let me tell you, pie and ice cream are always high on the agenda for us. Then when we got to the campground, we'd set up. We almost always camped, maybe once a week or so. We'd be at a hotel or a hostel. Several churches opened their doors. They viewed it as a ministry, and if I had time, I would talk about that, but it was a wonderful thing. Then we'd make dinner, and one of the ways they did relationship building in this tour was we took turns as pairs making the dinner, and so that helped bond us more closely together, and we had some really good cooks, so we ate well. This was not Franks and beans on this trip. I was just impressed, and when it was my turn to cook, it was a little embarrassing, and in fact, the first time I cooked, when I got done, they just all headed for the chips. It was really sad. Then we went and we'd go to sleep and start it all over again. Our day was very simple. There were 3 things that really mattered to us. First of all, the route. What towns would we pass through? Was there water? Was there food? Second was terrain. Did we have a lot of climbing to do? Was it flat? And the third was weather. Weather, was it going to be hot? Was it going to be cold? We rode in 105-degree temperature. We rode in 38-degree temperature. Was it going to rain? You know, you rode in the rain. You had to go. And so we rode a number of days in the rain. As I like to tell my wife, I told her before I left that it's the hard days that make memories. So it became a joke to us. She'd say, "How did your day go?" "Made some memories today." And then wind. Wind, actually, I was most concerned about in Kansas. It turns out prayer team kicked in, and we didn't have a whole lot of wind through Kansas, so that was a wonderful, wonderful thing. Let me talk to you about some beauty. There was in-your-face beauty, like here near the Grand Tetons, riding up a mountain pass. You just stop in awe and look at this. And when you're on a bicycle, you get lots of time to look at the scenery, and it just filled my heart. I should mention that we did do a lot of mountain passes. Our toughest day was 80 miles and 3 mountain passes. So that one, when we got all done, we were ready to eat some food. But beauty was also small. It wasn't just big. So one of the things that really intrigued me on this trip is flowers. And this flower, the thistle, turns out when it loses its petals, it doesn't lose them randomly. As you can see here, it gets these interesting geometric patterns. And it just showed me how creative God can be with his creation. So I would just sit down sometimes and just look at flowers because they were so beautiful. And sometimes there would be butterflies, and I would just watch the butterflies or the bees pollinate. People were beautiful too. This is in Illinois, and I wanted to take a picture of the angel wings behind me, but my arm wasn't quite long enough to do a selfie. And as I was trying to do this, Vicki pulled over. She said, "Want me to take your picture?" Just so sweet. And, you know, it's a small thing, but those small things really mean a lot, and they add up. There are also some big things. I was in Kansas, and a big thunder and lightning storm came, and I was sitting on the side of the road and wasn't quite sure what to do. It hadn't even had time to pray yet, and this guy pulled up alongside of me, and he said, "So, want to ride?" Well, he didn't have to ask twice, I can tell you that. His name was Eric, and he said I had passed his house a while ago on the road, and he thought, you know, this isn't going to be good for him. So he came and rescued me. So people are big as well as small in the way that they just take care of people. Now, we went through rural towns, and there's not a lot happening in the rural towns that we went through. So we were treated as celebrities in a lot of the rural towns. We made the newspaper in Wheeling, West Virginia. We made the 6 o'clock news in Wheeling. Now, it's not a major media market. I got that. But still, it was pretty cool. Flat tires. I won the Flat Tire Award. No one wants to win the Flat Tire Award. I had 15 flat tires. It got to the point where people were almost embarrassed to ask me, "Did you have a flat tire today?" The runner-up only had 8 flat tires. But a silver lining, they kept saying through this time, "I can't believe that you're as patient as you are with this." So it gave me a chance to show God's character in me. And I would try to tell myself that when another flat tire happened. Had a chance to be more overt in talking with people, too, about the Lord. Let me tell you, it's kind of special riding through Wyoming, seeing the beauty, and talking with Willie about Jesus and his claims to divinity and the truth of what he had to say. But I also had a feeler on the ride, and he had struggles emotionally, and There was a time once where it was especially tough, and I was able to encourage him and pray with him. It was so sweet. I said, "Can I pray with you?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm a Jesus guy." So I asked him what he meant by that, and we went on from there, but it just kind of cracked me up. So sweet. Now, wildlife is out there too. So this night we had a black bear visit our camp. He dug through our bags and our bikes trying to find some food. And as you can see on the right-hand side, he especially liked Pepsi. I had wished we had some Coke, so it could have been the Pepsi challenge with a bear. And I wasn't going to say this, but we had some beer drinkers in the group. He liked the beer. And then finally, got to the Pacific Ocean, dipped my front wheel into the water. And let me tell you, that was both an awesome, great feeling and a little sad because it was a fun adventure. A lot of low points, but a lot of high points. And you learned what you were capable of by the fact that you had to keep going. And then Dawn had a really cool sign. Her sisters made signs too, and one of her sisters' signs said, "It's about time." Gee, thanks. Now, this is just a very high-level overview. I kept a daily blog that has pictures and more descriptions. So if you're interested, here's where you can see it and just find day by day how it went. Thank you.